having women like her supporting women like us to even make this possible. So everybody, please welcome Honorable Minister Teresa Dock.
It's still morning. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I have cold. As you can hear from my voice, it's very cold. So we have to listen keenly and attentively, please. So if we can reduce the noise over there, I think I will appreciate that. Organizers, please, can you try to reduce some volume at the back? I just want to observe our protocols and to correct my name. I know we have our sister countries from another country. My name is Theresa Tenedik, D-I-C-K, Dick. So on behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture and the government of Sierra Leone, especially HE, Dr. Retired Brigadier Julius Mather Bill, you are welcome to Sierra Leone. I heard that we have people from South Africa, Senegal, Nigeria. We are all neighbors. I welcome you to Sierra Leone and feel free to stay in Sierra Leone as you continue with your program. For the Ministry of Agriculture, I want to appreciate the PanAfrican Symposium to really organize this symposium in Sierra Leone. Freetown, to be specific, I made to understand that this is the third session. So to choose Sierra Leone to organize your session, I know it is a great opportunity for Sierra Leone as a whole. So I thank the organizers, and I think we need to give them a round of applause for the recognition. The Ministry of Agriculture, we have what we call NAT 2023 that has 4 objectives. NAT, in short, we call the National Agricultural Transformation Program. With the 4 objectives, we're working on the number 1 is rice self-sufficiency. 2, promotion of livestock. 3, crop food diversification. 4, sustainable forestry and biodiversity. If I can discuss a little bit about 1 or 2, which are the key for rice self-sufficiency in Sierra Leone, why HE thought it fit that it should be number 1 objective. Because the average Sierra Leonean have never eaten anything if he or she has not eaten rice. Even if you have cocoa, you have cocoa yam, you have the white yam, potato, they can still say, I have not eaten, including cassava, which is our second staple food. So he made a pronouncement that everybody should farm and rice should be number 1, that we can reduce the importation of rice, that government is spending over $200 million to import rice in this country. We have all the arable lands, we have the rainfall, we have all the ecologies you can think of. The IVS, the inland valley swamp, the Boli land. Why can't we feed ourselves? So that is the number 1 objective of the NAT 2023 in Sierra Leone. The second one is promotion of livestock. You're eating rice, you need nutrition. Not only for adults, especially for lactating mothers, the pregnant women, and the under fives. So we have people with background in nutrition. We all came together to develop this program. So we are promoting livestock. Of course, food diversification, as I earlier on said, we want to appreciate all other crops in the country. We have cassava, we have cocoyam, we have bananas, we have plantain. I was fortunate to travel to Uganda. Their main food, it's, can somebody help me? They blend the yam, the plantain. That is what they eat. I don't know if matoke they call it. So why can't Sierra Leone also appreciate that? For sustainable forestry and biodiversification, looking at climate smart agriculture, we want to increase production of cocoa, coffee, cashew nuts. Those are cash crops that can increase the forex in the country. So, colleagues from other countries, I'm putting on the table that we are all into this to promote Africa so that we can feed ourselves and reduce importation of some commodities. The Ministry of Agriculture, having done the NAT 2023, went back to the drawing table. The government used to import or supply farmers with tools, seeds, fertilizer, and other agrochemicals. But then the return for giving back after supplying them was very low. So government thought it fit that. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's go and do some study around the country, especially West Africa. The Ministry of Agriculture traveled to Nigeria, Ghana, and I think some other countries. It came back with a result that we should shift the policy from serving farmers, giving them seed rice and all other things. The policy first was when you give a bag of rice, a bushel of rice, husk rice, or the paddy rice, you should give 2 bags in return. We find it difficult for the farmers to give back. Same goes for fertilizer. So the policy shifts, what the policy shift did was to bring in private sectors, business-minded people. After spending your money into something, I think you want to make profit. So the intervention was to engage the private sectors. Government contracted private sectors by acquiring 400 tractors to plow, harrow, and seed harrow the field of 1 hectare for farmer, wherein we bring in the e-voucher system also for transparency and accountability. The private sector going to the bank to take a loan have to give back to the bank. We opened the mechanization fund wherein they have to pay for these tractors in tranches. So the Ministry of Agriculture directly have nothing to do with farmers. The e-voucher system is a technology where you transfer the money to the private sector. Then the private sector, the system also created SIM cards for farmers. They own the SIM cards. Then, for example, this woman is a farmer. We give her the SIM card. I am the private sector. The ministry sent the money to the farmer. Then I am the private sector. I will now go to the farmer to cash my money. Then the private sector, I will just have to supply her the seeds, the fertilizer. So this is how the policy shift works. Last year was a pilot phase. This year, policy shift 2.0, we implement it full. We are still on course. This is the harvesting season. We are monitoring the process. On behalf of the Ministry of Agriculture and the government of Sierra Leone, also the ministry engaged the youth. I can see this hall filled with youth. I want to believe that one or two or three might be beneficiaries of the project that the government instituted in the Ministry of Youth Affairs, wherein the Ministry of Agriculture gave, or we are giving backstopping, technical backstopping to the youth to work or cultivate rice for, I think we had like 8,000. I really want to give the correct statistics. We engaged 8,000 youths in the country to engage themselves into rice cultivation. We call the project the Chiefdom Youth Farms, wherein also government, in collaboration with the International Organization for Migration, engaged the Ministry of Youth Affairs and the Ministry of Agriculture to see how we can minimize the international migration, illegal migration of our youth. The rural-urban migration, you can still make it in your rural areas. You can still make it in Sierra Leone if you engage yourself in agriculture, in agribusiness. Gone are those days when we used to say agriculture is for the poor people. No. Agriculture has money. If only you invest in agriculture, you can realize whatever you've invested. So we engage the youth, we train them in tractor operations and power tillers so that at least they can have something to do, create job, income, so that we can reduce even what we are now seeing on the streets. Smoking marijuana is not good for your health. Excessive drinking, and the last but not the least, the kush that our youths are taking in this country is destroying your future. You're destroying your generations. So I am really happy to see a host of youths here. This is your opportunity. Grab it. You will never regret it. You are privileged for these organizers to recognize Sierra Leone, to do their third symposium, deliberate, discuss. What are your successes? What are your challenges? You can build on your successes to close the gap of the challenges. So we have, the ministry have a capacity building project. Almost all of our projects have capacity building. Like the recent one, the regional industrialization agriculture, we are working to see that our youth are being capacitated, not only at the university level, but at agribusiness level, wherein you can work with your cassava, you process it, you package, you brand it into your own organization name. Then you sell that. If we can promote our local content, then from there, they can promote us internationally. So there are no, of course, successes without challenges. Even in the ministry, we also have challenges in terms of financial, accessing finance, market infrastructure, you know, the value chain, crop value chain. But then we are building on you. You are the makers. You are the four players. We depend on you to bring in your ideas. I have an open door policy. Some farmers can attest to read that. I'm always ready to help whoever knocks at my door. So you are always welcome to my office, and colleagues from other countries, if there are windows for opportunities, I'm looking forward to that. We can work together. We can collaborate. We can make visits, exchange visits. You've come to Sierra Leone. You've seen what we are doing. You might as well invite us to go and see what you are doing in your country. Then we can come together and work. So far, so good. I think we are in the right direction. I am so happy that I really want to read the objective of your program. Then it is not a mistake that you chose your theme. It's the same theme that Sierra Leone, the Ministry of Agriculture, is working through. As I can read from your theme, which says you want to build on perspective, the Pan-African Symposium vision to seek to capture the knowledge and partnership-based platform to help harness the power of youth in agriculture, the potentials of agricultural innovation, environmental preservation, food sovereignty, as well as investment and connect supply chains in Africa complement. Government efforts are not limited to the country, but to Africa continent at large. So as you can see, your vision is the same, like Sierra Leone. So once more, I welcome you. Officially open the symposium that was supposed to be yesterday, but never too late. The ministry is overwhelmed with activities. Apologies for not being here yesterday because my boss is out of the country and I'm more or less alone in the ministry. I had to forgo one very important, equally important meeting at 10 o'clock. I rescheduled the meeting to 4 so that I can make it possible to at least motivate our women, motivate our youth. So thank you very much for coming, and please note everything. You take notes, take it back and build on it to see Sierra Leone grow so that we can feed ourselves for a better Sierra Leone and sustainable agriculture. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Deputy Minister. We're really grateful for your insight and the words of encouragement to everyone here. So we'd just like to invite the minister to please visit the booth for the businesses that we have there. Please, can you do us the honor, ma'am? Okay, so can we take a picture? Pictures? Who's responding? Can we do it on the stage maybe so that we can have everyone? Yes, with the background and all. Okay. Okay, so we'd like to do it with the host, please, Madam Minister, just with the host. So. Yes, we'll do another one. Okay, we'll do that one too. Okay, okay, perfect. So we'll do one. Madame wants to do one with everyone else, and then later we can do with the host right at the background. Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay, so we are about to start our next session. As we see the minister off, we continue with the program. Allow me to call our speakers to the front. We have Madam Tolulope Aina from Nigeria, the founder of AgroLin, who has been a major support and partner in implementing this symposium right from the beginning. Please, everybody, let's welcome Tolulope Aina. Next, we have Samkele Sire Chaunda. She is from South Africa. Please give a round of applause for Samu. Online, we have Precious Mudondo. I believe she's a sister of mine from Zimbabwe. So, Precious, welcome to the symposium.
Yes, we can hear you. how we transform the image and the perception of agriculture. So if we say where are we today, I would say we are better than we were a couple of years ago, but a lot more work needs to be done. That would mean that we still have a lot to do with how agriculture is still perceived and who is the generation to tackle that perception. I would say it's our generation. So the perception here is somewhat changing and can still be better if we work together towards changing that narrative. So when people see you as an agripreneur, what do they see? I am proudly a farmer. And when people see me, they say, you don't look like a farmer. And then I ask the question, how is a farmer supposed to look? So if we begin in our own constituency, in our own unit, begin to transform the way farming is done. So yes, you might say I'm not a farmer. I am a farmer. So let me give a bit of what I do in farming. I started off my first farm on a 5-hectare land where I cultivated cassava and maize. So I cultivate cassava, maize. I also add value to it and make packaged curry. So that's my first business. After that, I moved into an integrated farm cluster model whereby I see that young people do not have access to land. And what do? I have access to land in about hundreds of hectares. So we come together to form like an estate whereby, you can have 1 hectare, 2 hectares, depending on your financial capacity. But then you leverage on mechanization, you leverage technology. That way you can access better market because we take everything on the farm in bulk, and we can access structured and better market. So then again, do I look like a farmer? Maybe, I don't know what you call it, but am I a farmer? Oh yes, I am a 21st century farmer, and I'm transforming that phase. So I'll put it out here that, what are you doing in your own units and your own constituency? Thank you.
I would like to move on to Sam Kalisof in South Africa. What is your perception?
to produce food. I also have a farm in Johannesburg where we're producing on the rooftop. So we go on top of the building and we put our systems and we produce the food. We also have farms that are smaller for households that you will find either inside the house or in a balcony. You see, like when you live in a flat or a smaller property and you just have a small patio where you walk out into, and people are able to use the systems to produce there. And that's one of the reasons I focused on what I call today metro farming, because I'm now able to produce in a city, in a metro, in any other space. There's so many advantages that comes with it as well, because I'm able to produce clean. My sister was saying earlier, do I look like a farm or a farmer? Because in our minds, we've always seen a farmer as this person who is dirty, who is exhausted, who looks old, and all those kind of things. And today we have used that opportunity to actually make agriculture fashionable and bring it to a young person and use the very same technology that you use for any other thing. Our kind of farming is a plug and play. You press a button, just like you do with your kettle, with your microwave, charging your cell phone. It's the very same way with agriculture. That's how we do farming. It's a beautiful way of doing research as well. I always encourage people to study because I did take time myself studying agriculture. I did a Bachelor of Science, degree honors. I even did an MBA just to show that it is important to have a clear understanding of the work that you do. And currently, the farms that I'm talking about with the university, within the city, I'm able to collaborate with universities for research. So it's not just a production for me to produce today, sell tomorrow. No, I also contribute to the knowledge so that people continuously learn, do research, and we're able to progress. And to respond to the question, wow, agriculture has become a buzzword in all the countries, actually, not only in Sierra Leone or from my country in South Africa, but every politician today, we just listened to the minister a few minutes ago talking about how important agriculture it is and the need for young people to be involved. It has become a buzzword. It is no longer one of those things that we are scared of, but it is a business that I believe Africa has recognized, and we have availed ourselves to do agriculture, and we have made agriculture one of the priorities in our planning, not only in my country, but in the world at large. And it is so impressive to actually look at a room like this one where the audience is young people. It actually says agriculture has become what we consume daily in the morning, day and night. And we are committed to producing what we consume. that we will have the best brand in agriculture. But most of all, let's make sure that we transform this agriculture.
Most of our produce are being offered in the market unbranded. And we also see that even most of our produce that are exported in their raw forms. So when we talk about rebranding agriculture, we need to pin brands out of Africa. A session we had yesterday, no, the first day on branding, I touched based on this. You know, branding is very important now for us, even as young people. Rather than have our produce, for example, we know that Ghana is very big on cocoa. But then you will see cocoa exported from Ghana, taken to China, and Chinese chocolate sold in Ghana. We see cassava, which Nigeria is huge on. You see products of cassava being imported from where? From China. And a host of other produce like that. I'm sure you are conversant with the fact that you have a lot of processed food that are actually components of what you largely grow here. And so there's a disconnect. It's because of the lack of branding. So if we must rebrand Africa to take that giant position we rightly occupy, is by adding value and branding our produce. Enough of the exploitation, something that is not added value to, something that value is not added to, doesn't depict originality. Rwanda makes the best coffee. And now with the intervention, with the policy and all of these things put in place, we see that products coming out of Rwanda are well branded now. We need to see that escalate across different African countries. And it takes the innovation of young people to be able to do that. If we still sit on the bench of production and we do not leverage on the benefits of processing and packaging, we are shortchanging ourselves. Big brands that exist today, the likes of Nike, the likes of Adidas, I'm trying to come from another perspective so that you see that these things can happen in real time. They all came from branding, and they have lived long to live the test of time. If we say we are farmers, if tomorrow, in the next, say, 70 years when we are old, is there longevity for that business we started? Can it transcend beyond one generation? It begins from now. So when we are talking about rebranding the face of agriculture, it goes beyond production and has a lot more to do with value addition. If not, I wouldn't say the failure or the ignorance of our forefathers, of our fathers, would also continue. And now we are in the era whereby there's information everywhere, and there's no limit to your reach as young people. You post something today, somebody is sitting in the US tomorrow, they see what you have posted in real time, right from Sierra Leone. So when we begin to talk about these things, it's always good to narrow them down to reality, so that we begin to see key things that we can pick and begin to implement even in our own individual businesses. Because conferences like this are actually meant to make us take action and begin to think innovatively. So if we live here and we do not understand the practical dynamics to rebranding the face of agriculture, because it starts with you, it starts with me. And then, will it be a wasted effort to have an event like this, or it will be worthwhile. So in essence, when we think about many of these topics, I'm sure we've had topics like this also earlier, let's begin to think about how can we localize that within us and transform that into action. Thank you. Precious. Largely in the 80s, and we are talking about 2022, yet the technology that is largely available. Please, can the noise be reduced from the exhibition stand, please? Can the noise please be reduced from the exhibition stand? Yes, sorry about that. So we see that, you know, these are things that are obstacles, because when young people see, when there's an advocacy that says, we need young people in farming, come into farming, come and do agriculture. Agriculture is the new oil. Everybody, oh yes, agriculture is the new oil. Now you get into agriculture and you meet the crude way. You meet the way that is not productive. You don't have the capacity to harness things that will make it, productive for you. These are challenges, these are obstacles. The enabling environment is not there. As much as we say, people should come into agriculture. If you see developed countries, for example, in developed countries, we notice that, look at during the pandemic, right? Canada incentivized their farmers. The US did same. You see the case of the war in Ukraine and Russia, which has affected grain and oil seeds. We see the response by governments of developed countries in terms of their policy direction, in terms of many of these things. But what do we have in Africa? So as much as, yes, the youth have their role to play, this is a call to action to policymakers. Because when we talk about the food system is an ecosystem. It has the government's role, it has the policymakers' role, it has the private sector, and all of these things. It needs the educators, all of them. But at the same time, when we talk about obstacles, largely the obstacles hindering people's participation is enabling environment and technology adoption. So this question is not directly to the youth, but to our policymakers. We talk about this food system year in, year out. We have conversations around it. The Food System Summit happened this year. COP27 happened this year. But then we expect everybody to work hand in hand to get all of these things done. So, and now, how do we influence policy to tackle these obstacles? Young people, do not shy away from politics. Now, not everybody has to be on the field. There are different aspects of the value chain. Pick the one that your strength lies in. If you are somebody that wants to be an educator, you want to transform, you want to create systems, you want to that safeguard participation, go that route. If you are more technical, you have tech skills, you want to help, form partnerships, build system, go ground up. Don't just let sit with talk. We young people, we know how to talk. We can talk. It's good. But let's channel our energy accordingly. We cannot want to implement change from an outside perspective if we do not get in, walk the ropes, and be there and begin to implement the changes we want to see. So when these questions are being asked, sometimes, most times for me, I feel as much as we talk about the obstacle, we need to even talk more about how to tackle them. And that's why you see, if I talk this side, I'll talk that side. Because eventually, we want to see young people take action, right? We want to see how we can take these lessons from this symposium and begin to take action. Now, it will take time. It will take effort. But we have to start from somewhere. Okay? So start ground up. The challenges that bring people into agriculture and make them run out of agriculture. It's happening, and it will still happen, but it can change in the next couple of years. If we, ourselves, from the lessons we learned from the failures of what we currently do, create solutions to combat those failures for people that will subsequently come into the sector, then we'll begin to address many of these obstacles.
Okay, responding to the question, welcome to the Pan-African Agriculture Symposium. What a wonderful opportunity we're here together. I believe we need three things. One, it is knowledge. We need knowledge, we need resources, and we need sales. And as I explain it, knowledge, yes, we often say knowledge is available, but the kind of knowledge that we have access to, especially most of us that goes to schools, it is knowledge that is outdated. We often spend too much time learning what was done 20 years ago in agriculture, or what was done 50 years ago. And I believe we need the knowledge that will help us to thrive in 2022. The right knowledge that will make you productive where you are today. The farmer who produced 20 or 50 years ago was in a different space, and you are in a different space, in a different era. What is the knowledge that you need in order to succeed right where you are? The second thing I said, resources. We need the right resources that will help us to be productive. A very simple example. We just came from COVID. I don't know whether we came from it or we're still in COVID. I believe we just came out of COVID season. And a number of things happened during that season from 2020. First, it was the sickness being spread, regardless of the borders being closed, the shopping malls closed. We were in our houses. We were not going anywhere. Everything was just like shut out. But still, that sickness, that COVID, that pandemic, still went through and got into the world. Ask yourself, how? And that is the kind of resource that we need. I know I'm using a very bad example when I say COVID, because some of us are carrying pain that comes with COVID. But if COVID was able to get to a young child and have each and every household singing COVID, 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 could it be that we wake up tomorrow and we have every household in the continent, in Africa, saying produce, 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 or farm, 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 or food, food, you know, like just like we were singing COVID in the world, having it, you know, it's amazing the resources that came at the time. We didn't know that our countries can release so much money towards masks, towards vaccination, towards, in a very short space of time, we were able to get all those things happening during COVID. Could it be that we can wake up tomorrow and we prioritize resources that are needed for us to be able to produce food? So I think our resources are channeled or are sitting somewhere else where they're not supposed to be. But that's exactly what we need. The things that will enable us to produce where we are and right now. Lastly, I said sales. We need to buy from each other. I have seen so many businesses in my lifetime that were started whether by young people or old people, but those businesses, they die. And it's not obstacles. No, it's because you don't buy from me. You choose to go to Germany and buy that brand and leave me here. You choose to go buy Louis Vuitton and leave me right in your neighborhood. It's not an obstacle, it's a choice. Those are the things that we need in Africa, to look at one another and say, I am going to support her regardless. I'm going to buy from him regardless. And that's exactly what will help us to grow. Sales, sales, sales. There's so many ideas in here. There's so many opportunities that we have seen and we have tried. But the problem, nobody bought from you and you gave up or you lost because there was no one buying. Buy from your neighbor, buy from your friend, buy from, even from your sister in your own house so that you help that person to grow. We don't have much obstacles. We have a mindset change that is necessary for us to grow. Thank you.
Because it's one thing to say you need money. It's another thing to, before your very own eyes, see that money you invest in agriculture go down the drain for many factors. Climate change, that leads to flooding, disrupted rainfall patterns, and many of these things. So agriculture is not like, it's not an industry where you can press your calculator and say 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. It doesn't always happen like that. For many people that are on the field, you would understand what I'm saying. It doesn't always work like that. But the best way that these things can, that's what kind of shock, is available to support farmers. What type of incentives are available to support farmers? I know there are a lot of schemes, especially from Nigeria. We hear a lot of schemes that are out there that says, oh, we are providing single-digit loans for farmers, but then the farmers cannot access it. There are projects that say, oh, don't worry, we are going to give farmers subsidized inputs. But then it's only the political farmers that we see access many of those things. So if we are to de-risk the agriculture sector, then again, I will call on the government and the policymakers because they have a huge role to play in this part. Now, on the part of young people to de-risk, to safeguard yourself. Now, many of us lack access to quality and the right knowledge, which was why I founded AgroLearn, which is focused on capacity development for young people. We have 3 pillars. Capacity development. How do we go about this? We know that we are largely backward in terms of our adoption of knowledge, of technology, and all of that. But then at the same time, we know that we cannot hook, line, and sinker take what is happening in developed country and dump it here, because our systems are different. So let me give a practical example. If we must improve how our rural farmers do things, we know first, most of the lands that we have available do not have those stumps totally removed, right? And as such, tractors cannot be deployed to the farm directly with the availability of those stumps. But we have handheld, mechanized planters, handheld plows that can still do the work, right? And still guarantee precision for our farmers. So we try to bring in those technology, those knowledge, leveraging on what is obtainable in developed sector and what we can do here. So how we structure our programs, for instance, is we get experts from US, Canada, China. We match them with experts locally, right? To come up with interventions that can be localized. So when I'm talking about de-risking now, so young people need to begin to get access to quality and the right kind of information. You are de-risking for yourself now. We talked about the external party, which is the government and the policymakers. But now I'm addressing us as youths. Many of us don't have the right information. And maybe it's difficult to know where to access it from, but that's why you have events like this, where you meet with people. So learn the ropes. Always strive for knowledge. Before you even start something, before you say money is your issue from starting, go and intern. You are de-risking for yourself. I said it in one of the sessions that there's a difference between theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge. There are 2 learning curves. So if you have theory alone and you go to the field, you get your fingers burnt. Take your time to learn practically also, because you learn a lot of things and pick. And then you can now leverage on your strength. You are de-risking for yourself. That way, you are safeguarding your own interest by being a part of the agricultural sector. So de-risking comes in two parts. Let me reiterate. De-risking in terms of financing, in terms of enabling environment, all of those things are key. But de-risking for yourself as an individual is to get access to the right knowledge, give yourself an opportunity to learn the ropes from people who are ahead of you so that you can address gaps, not reinvent wheels, right? Address gaps, not reinvent wheels. That's not doing things the conventional way or the way everybody is doing it. That way, you safeguard yourself while we also continue to engage with the policymakers and see that those things that we need them to do to make this system, transformed, are put in place.
Wow, let's clap hands for her. She has actually answered the question so well. In other words, I'm saying she has taken my point. She actually said it so well in investing in knowledge and also making sure that we have access to, or trying our best to have access. But to add into that, what she just alluded to. When I started earlier, I introduced my business and I said, I call my business Sibayeni. Sibayeni is where I was born, so it's the name of the place. Metro farming means we're farming in a metro or in a city. And one of the things that you will identify with what we are doing is we always make sure that we are climate smart. When I say climate smart, I mean we have given ourselves time to identify all the things that we consider as a risk that can affect our business or that can affect our production. So depending on where you are, there are some of the things when it comes to production that are standard. Like when you are farming, you need a seed, you need water, you need a growing media. It doesn't matter what it is. For me, it has a lot of names and languages because I use different kinds of growing media. But for most people, it's the soil. And when we say we are climate smart, we actually thought of land. Land can be a risk if you want to grow your production. She was talking about soil, the soil, you cannot bring in a tractor and this and that happens. Or you live in the city, you don't have enough space to grow. All those kind of things that can hinder your progress. We looked at that and we said, how can we make sure that we maximize production in a small space? That is why we had to bring in the climate smart systems, because now this space is enough for me because I will grow from here, this level, and I'm going up to the roof, 6 meters high. So I don't need the 60 hectares to produce, but I need the height going up. Secondly, we all experience challenges with water. Water comes in different ways. It could either be you have the supply of water in your area, but it is too expensive. Or you live in an area where water is just not available at all. You see, now I'm like, water can be a challenge in both ways, whether you're in the city and you can't afford to pay for the water, so it means your production is hindered. Or you're in a rural area and you don't have access to water. So those are the things that we looked at. And we introduced what we call reservoirs. So we use the reservoir to store the water. And within our systems, the water gets recycled within the system. So it goes up, down, just like that throughout the day. Remember, I said it's a plug and play kind of a system. So you just plug and you continue with whatever you are doing, and the production will happen as it is. Right now, all my farms, the systems are running while I'm sitting here with you. And then, so whatever challenges that you have with water can be solved in that way. But also there are those things that are beyond your control. Like for instance, there's floods, there's, whatever kind of storms that you can think of and so on. We're able to use indoor for production. So you know whether, it doesn't matter how the weather changes outside, because your production is covered. You are producing whether in a greenhouse, in a warehouse, in a tunnel, in a shade, whatever that you are using. You're protecting your plants against whatever weather risk that can happen. So you already are ahead of the natural disasters that can happen. Another one, it's operations. Most of us, we start businesses, and maybe when you start, you do have money to buy the seeds and the fertilizers. But 2-3 weeks down the line, you no longer have money for that. The systems that we introduced are the kind that I don't need to carry a 50 kg bag or 100 kg bag and putting nutrients everywhere. But it's a 5-liter container. I just scoop the nutrients and put it in my reservoir. And that's how I get to save. Because the fertilizers are expensive also. So I'm already preparing myself ahead to say, whether I have money or not, I'm still able to continue with the production. There's so many things that are associated with risk in operations. You can think of after producing or when your products are ready and something happens to your products, whether there are worms or aphids or insects or pests, anything can happen and it eats your vegetables before you harvest. Already you've lost out, right? All this work that you've put in to ensure that you're able to produce has just gone to waste because there's something that came and damaged your farm. So in this kind of production, we curb the risk by making sure that we lift the production from the soil. So nothing is planted in the soil because we don't know what is crawling and walking and flying wherever. So because our production is lifted, then we're not affected. So you see how much we have given ourselves time to do research and say, what are the problems that farmers usually experience? We calculated all that, and then we said, what are the things that we can put in place so that we make sure this kind of risk that never affects us in production? And there's many more that you can also identify in your area or the things that happen wherever you are staying. Think about it, note it down, and find solutions to it before it affects you. And that is how we can de-risk our production wherever we are producing. Thank you.
sensitization across a state in Nigeria where we partnered with GIZ and the government, to do like a sensitization program for 1,000 farmers across the states. And, there were lots of lessons learned in that aspect because we saw that there was a disconnect within knowledge awareness. Whereas, and the reason for that is most times, many times when we hear about solutions that are foreign kind, people find it difficult to see how to localize it. So we were able as an organization to localize it, and the farmers themselves can now begin to implement those solutions. Another way to leverage diaspora knowledge to bring is, so I'm luckily part of a program where I serve as a mentor. It's called IFEAR. It's an initiative of the Israeli Embassy in Nigeria and the Office of the Vice President. And what we do is we shortlist. So innovations is just about seeing how to transform innovations into commerciable solutions. So my role is to serve as a mentor for those that get on the program, while also being part of the shortlisting process. So we take them through a 6-month incubation, hardware development. Now, Israeli is diaspora, and you know that Israel is very vast with technology. So we have that support from the Israeli embassy, and we see how to transform that, equipping, Nigerian youths, for example. Now that's one. I'm also privileged to be part of a program called TED Fair, which is about, we see that many of our professors, there are a lot of research works that are done, but many of those research works just die in one room, right? Or they are published as journals. We don't see those solutions transformed into, commerciable solutions, right? So then again, we also work with professors in the universities that have solutions and see how we leverage Israel's expertise towards transforming them to actionable solutions. So yeah, that is working in Nigeria. I'm not aware of, and that's what I am personally part of. So I'm sharing based on personal experience. I'm sure there are a host of other projects like that. I'm aware of one that is also happening in Ghana at the moment. They are currently setting that up, to also transform that. I think this is also something that even the government of Sierra Leone can actually also leverage by seeing how to partner with embassies, local embassies here, to see how we can bring in those solutions. Yeah? So I don't know if there's any government person here. We can facilitate those conversations and see how, even youths in Sierra Leone can begin to leverage those opportunities. I don't know if Sami has anything, or should I just run through? Okay, let me just run through key points. So there's also another issue here on the role of Africans in diaspora to play in promoting agribusinesses and in ensuring access and structure in the sector. So for those in diaspora who are also joining us virtually, the knowledge you have from experience living in diaspora, you can actually use that to help build citizens in your countries back home. So our virtual participants, or I don't know if there are a couple of physical participants here who live in diaspora and are privileged to be at this event, you know what? So in practical terms, let's say, the phytosanitary requirement to get some produce, maybe to the US, for example. You can partner, you can set up a company by virtue of maybe you being a citizen in that country and partner with a local organization here to move packaged products to the diaspora. So, because I see most times that when people leave, the outflux of African youths out of Africa and not working towards developing Africa. Africa is ours to develop. If we leave Africa, go to diaspora, and develop the diaspora, then we are soiling our roots. We are not positively impacting our roots. So this message is for those in diaspora. Please, think about innovative ways in which you can support indigenous youths in Africa and develop their capacity to also be able to compete with the rest of the world in terms of quality, standard of the produce that we have from Africa. Sammy, just one more. What decisions need to be made by policymakers to encourage and incentivize the African diaspora to meaningfully invest in agriculture on the continent? Enabling environment, just to keep it short. Enabling, because it's only with an enabling environment that safeguards private sector investments on the continent. If that is put in place, I'm sure diaspora would not have a challenge with investing back home. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Come on, let's clap for her. Well done. Such wealth of knowledge coming from Nigeria. Okay, I think she covered almost all the questions. The knowledge and the technical and the knowledge that we have within the diaspora, it's actually amazing. Huh? Thanks to COVID. I mean, we all believe now we are techno-smart because we can use WhatsApp, we can use Facebook, we can use all these sorts of techno resources and equipments within our hands. Let's use that to learn how others are doing better in agriculture. The very same resource that you have in your hands, just use the same thing. Check, continuously checking what is happening in that country, what are they doing better, and read the news and all that, and we'll be able to improve. But in addition to that, use the very same resources to market our products. We've seen some of the ladies on the other side in our expo. Any one of you who came in and took a picture with someone who's producing and shared it out there, I'm looking, that's one other opportunity, right? Continuously share the products that are happening within our continent, within our country, within our neighborhood. It doesn't have to be your product. It really doesn't have to be yours. The more you learn the culture of promoting and supporting others, the more you actually attract support and promotion towards what you do. So let's go ahead and use the resources that we have and share amongst ourselves. And then, oh my goodness, I liked this question that was talking about access and structure within the sector. Okay, the role that the African diaspora play. Hi guys. No, there's no role. We just need to unlock the resources. I spoke about resources earlier. You know, we just need to unlock the resources. We have a lot of resources that are sitting in wrong places. We have so many billions in whatever currency that we spend on daily basis that we need to channel to the things that we need. Think about politics. When there's a need for elections, how much money gets spent for you to vote for the new president and that minister and that, you know, that's much money that we need to be productive. You think about the events that we host every weekend or the festive seasons. How much money is that? If we channeled those kind of resources towards making sure that we are productive as a continent, we will go a long way. You think about the money we spend in alcohol. By the way, alcohol slows your thinking capacity. You know, when you're not sober, you can't think straight, right? How much money we spend on that on daily or weekly basis. Those are the resources that we need to unlock and channel towards making sure that we are productive as the continent. By the way, I did indicate when I started that we're not a poor continent, right? We just need to prioritize. That's all we need to do. And once we've done that, we will see a lot happening. And lastly, what decisions need to be made? Oh my goodness. This African continent, we have the best policies in the world. You know why? Because policies are those things that we copy and paste. So we are so good at that, you know. We have the best policies. We just don't implement anything. And that is the reason why the policies that we have are sitting in paper. They are written somewhere, and some of them are displayed in beautiful offices, but they're not working for us. They're not helping us in any way. They're not growing us in any way because we don't implement. So those are the policies, are those kind of things that we discuss, we agree on, and then we close that chapter as soon as we finish food and we go home, then we forget about it. No, the policies are there and they're very good. Let's just make sure that we implement it in whatever space where you are in. Find something. By the way, let's also invest in learning those policies. Some of the things are out there and we do not know it because we don't give ourselves time to learn how things are supposed to run in my country and how things are running in other countries where I need to sell my products. With that knowledge, you actually are going to avoid a lot of mistakes and losses in your production. Otherwise, from my side, thank you so much. And it was great spending time with you. Unfortunately, we didn't get to questions. But as my rep on my side, there's just one thing I want to pass to all of you. Let's support each other. Let's buy from each other. That small business that you saw, that was started yesterday by your neighbor, your friend, support it. The more we buy from each other, the quicker the economy around us will grow. Thank you. Have a blessed afternoon.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from participants? Do we have questions from participants? Willie, please come. Just giving the mic back. If there's any question. Please, if you have questions, kindly signify.
Okay. Okay. Greetings all. My name is Maurice Mbokari. I have 5 questions to ask. Hello. I have 5 questions to ask. One is I had a clause from the Zoom guest that says we need to go into partnership. How to go into partnership? That's the first question. Secondly, you know, it once said by Barack Obama, when you are confused, you confess so everybody can progress. So I want to know what's business plan and the format, organogram of a business plan and how to do it. And also do one observation that the guest speaker only emphasized on...
Hello? Sorry, please, can you slow down? I'm not getting the questions clearly.
Okay, okay.
You asked about how to develop business plan or something?
The format organogram of a business plan and how to do it.
The format?
Format organogram of a business plan and how to do it. And also I did one observation that says you only emphasize on your success rather than the challenges you face doing your business inclusion in agriculture. Thank you. Hello. You understand the question?
Are all those questions for me? Or?
Definitely.
For me?
Yeah, yeah. You and the Zoom guest.
Okay. So, okay, let me answer one after the other. So the first one is, how do you go into partnerships? So I'll say one of the partnerships that worked for me for AgroLane was a partnership, was a meetup I had in 2019 in Rwanda when I attended a summit. Yeah, the AGRF 2019, African Green Revolution Summit. There I met one of the co-founders of Winrock International, which is the organization is based in the US, and they run different farmer development programs across Africa. Now, that was in 2018, sorry. That was far back in 2018. Now, the reason why I'm paying attention to that, I'm using that particular case study about partnership is because I had established that contact since 2018. I didn't find it valuable until 2020 because they came in as my third partner. So partnership comes with going out there. Now, even as you are in this symposium, how many people have you personally networked with to see how a partnership with them can help improve the work that you do? So that's how partnership is raised. That's how it starts. Simple. It's all from seeing somebody that can add value to you, engaging that person. And it's not always good to come from the perspective of what you want to get from people. If you see somebody that you can potentially partner with, the first thing to do is to see how you can be of value to that person. That reverse psychology helps all the time. It works for me all the time. I see I want to partner with somebody. I identify a problem with what that person is currently doing, and I come from that perspective. So I hope that helps. The second one is the organogram for business plan. So business plan, sometimes, I don't advise business plan for startups because the business plan is more complicated. I would just advise you to first develop a business model canvas that addresses the values. The customer, you should know a business model canvas. That's why capacity building is actually key. Apart from the theoretical knowledge on how to start that business, you also need business development skills. I know that Ignition Hour does that, and there are a couple of organizations that do that. I also offer that within my organization as a service. So having a business model canvas that addresses the value proposition, the type of customers, from the value perspective, would actually go a long way for you as a startup, rather than a complicated business plan. So yes, business plan will come from, let's assume you've done this now consistently for 1 year. You begin to understand your numbers gradually. Because when you are starting, you cannot understand all of these things. And if you get somebody to develop it for you, it's just a waste of documents. I'm telling you firsthand, because many times people say, oh, the reason why I've not started this business is because I need a business plan. The time you are waiting to have a business plan, that definitely would not make sense 6 months down the line. You rather work on a business model canvas to start something basic. If you can start with that, grow with that, you begin to put all these different components in shape as you go. Now your third question. You said I shared only my success. I shared stories related to the questions that were attributed to this session. But you want to hear some of the bottlenecks. I shared that in my session on Monday. But just for the benefit of, so when I started my agribusiness, so I started in 2015 before I graduated. And then by 2016, I had my first farm. Then that was when there was an outbreak of fall armyworm. For those that are conversant with fall armyworm, 2016 era, that was when I started. So I lost 70% of my maize, which were planted with precision because I got knowledge. I had experience from Cover 2, cassava value chain, and also leveraged knowledge from the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. But then it was a time where nobody expected fall armyworm infestation, so a lot of people were confused with how to tackle that. So yes, I lost a lot of money. Now, when I started with outsourcing cassava from rural farmers to process into cassava products. But then there was a period where there was scarcity. And so it was quite difficult to maintain supply because I could not get access to the raw material. And then I decided that let me produce. At that peak, it was later I realized that there's a 3-year cycle for the cassava value chain. And by the time I was ready to produce, I fell into a trap of gluts, meaning that I could also not sell the excess that I had. But luckily for me, the story had been giving me the knowledge that you need to sign MOU and MOU. Setting up my farm, it was close to the market, and I had an MOU signed, one of the biggest flour mills of Nigeria, which also does cassava-based products. So eventually, I was still able to access market. So it was not very challenging for me. One major challenge again that happened was the farmer header crisis, which led to the loss of about 15 hectares consistently. In Nigeria, I am known for one thing on Twitter. I used to fight. And I used to fight a lot of battles. In short, you know, by 2018, one of my battles landed me in a conference with the then Minister of Agriculture and a host of them. And on seeing me, the man said it directly, "You are the one that gives me tough time." And I'm like, yes, because you don't create the systems that protect the interest of young people like myself. So when we talk about challenge, I don't just keep quiet about it. I talk expressly about those challenges all the time. So if I was not privileged to share it earlier, it's because my questions did not address or are tailored to those challenges. So yes, the challenges are enormous, right? And that's why we as young people need to safeguard ourselves. And that's why I gave practical examples of how we protect our interests, because I have been there, I am still facing them myself, and I don't know when it will end. But then the world thrives on problems, and that's why we need young people to begin to create solutions to address those problems. So thank you. I've answered all your questions, right?
Right.
Yes, please go ahead. Okay. Yeah, so let's give room for one more question. Yes, since you already asked the mic.
Okay. Good afternoon, all. I just want to make a recommendation with regards to what the Deputy Minister was saying here about what they have done in order to see agriculture improved in Sierra Leone. I heard her saying that who spent this money in importing rice, who partner with the Ministry of Youth Affairs, But there are many mechanisms, just as Madam was saying here. We, the youth, they call us to seminars, summits, putting our ideas together in order to see that to curtail agricultural production for it to be rise up there. But when we put these things into position paper, the ministry is not going to look at it. And we have our fellow youth out there who has the idea. It's just for them to have something, incentives for them to go out there and start doing the job itself. Without the government, just as yesterday we discussed about partnership and whatsoever, there are many youth in the streets who did not know their value of being in the village or investing into agriculture. That is what, because of there is no education about these people having about agriculture out there. We that are here, we already know. What are some of the things now that this symposium, this organization has to put in place in order for those people that are out there, those youth that are out there will what? Will know that agriculture is the order of the day. Without agriculture, we will not survive. So this is my question and that's my recommendation. Thank you.
Was that a question or a comment? We asked a question here.
Yes, it was a question. Okay.
Okay, so just recap your question in summary. I don't think she got you clearly.
I think I got the question. Yeah, I was just thinking of the response. Okay. In terms of his support, this is one of the things that we cannot. It's not easy to guarantee support that comes from government. I think I did indicate earlier that it's not because the resources are not there, because the resources are available. They're just channeled differently. In my country, in South Africa, we do get government support, but the way it comes, it has always been, like you indicated right now, that a young person may have an idea. And for government, they will always say, or even any investor, they will always say, what have you done? Show us what you've done. Prove to us that what you are telling us about can be a success. So in other words, I'm saying, start. Go ahead and start. Whatever it is, let it not end in being an idea. The first thing that you need to do is to write down the idea. That's one. And the more you look at it, it's the more you realize, I need to add this, I need to add that. And the more information you add into the idea, you'll actually realize that you've already completed a business plan that he was asking about earlier. Write down the idea. Secondly, action it. Action it, however small. Start. The investment will find you on the way. And when that investment finds you on the way, you'll be able to prove that I am capable of making this a success. See how far I've gone without your investment, without the government support. See how far I've gone. And we often say, as young people, these are the things that we hear a lot from young people saying, I don't have money to start. In farming, in order to start, you need the seeds, right? Compare the price of seeds with the data that you use in your phone on a weekly basis. So you can always make a decision to say, this week, I'm not buying airtime or data. I'm using the money to buy seeds. And I start producing whatever that you want to do. And agriculture has a huge, like, the value chain in agriculture is massive. We don't only have all of us focus on producing. You can actually go to a person who is producing and say, can I process your products? In that way, you're adding value into the products. You are able to sell the product at a higher price and profit the one who has produced and yourself who's done the processing. If I were to explain how I got to a level where I'm able to do research with universities, you actually will not believe. When I started, I just went to the universities and said, I'm doing farming. I know you have students that have degrees or that are studying agriculture. I want your students to come and do their learnership in my farm at no cost. The university was so excited. They started sending 2 students, 12 students, and we grew up from there. And you know what happens right now? The universities are able to put aside a budget, and they call it learnership, internship. And they now fund the learners who are coming to my farm to do the internship. But when I started, there was a 0 payment that was coming to my farm. So some of the things, don't expect that when you start, everybody will be prepared to open their wallets and pay you. But make sure that you have a plan towards where you are going so that you remain profitable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been an interesting session. You want to wrap up?
Thank you so much to the speakers. Thanks so much to the speakers. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed the session. So lunch is taking a little bit of, it's almost here. So to deal with the goodie bags right here that by Tolu.
Yes, so yesterday, we promised the first 3 people to fill the feedback forms, gifts. So we're going to have that now. If you hear your name, Josephine Lucy. Please, can someone come and help me pronounce this name? Because I don't want to murder people's name.
Okay, if you're using the email address josephinelucinday@gmail.com, please come up. Is that you?
A round of applause for her. So I said yes. So I think you people don't know that I keep to my words. So this is me keeping to my words. Thank you very much in the form. Maybe I may just decide that the person that claps the most will get something. If you're using www.com, www.williamphillips@gmail.com. Who has that email? How do we even confirm this email? Before somebody will come and... young man, you have to show me evidence. I need to see your email. He said his phone is off. Let me check. Do we give him the goodie bag from his name? Oh, okay. Thank you for filling. Thank you. And again, you are not clapping. Mohammed fcc5@gmail.com. And yes, I remember Emmanuel yesterday. So let me say, I remember this guy from yesterday because he initially did not want to fill the form. But when I said the first 3 people to fill the form, he picked his phone immediately and told me that he will fill the form. So thank you for filling. We actually have over 50 of you that filled it. So we just said a round of applause for all of you. So quickly, we're going to do, so I need socials here. I want us to go on Twitter now. How many of us are on Twitter here? Okay. The social media handle is @4_craving. So please, socials, please, I want you to monitor the first 5 people that follow the page now. Look at them. You need to pay attention, no? Look for it and follow. The next 5 people that follow at this time, please, I need the information now. Okay, let me help. @4_craving, am I right? @4_craving. And please just say one thing or two about the symposium. The interesting thing, the hashtag is Agri Symposium 2022. Please, can I have that on a sheet of paper? On a sheet. You want me to use projector now that is goodie bag, eh? Hashtag AGRISYMPOSIUM, Agri Symposium 2022. That's the hashtag to use. Follow the handle, and I'm waiting for the reports now. If you post also with the hashtag and we see it now, goodie bag. Are we posting or we are not interested? Should I go away with my goodie bag? Look at where this. Can you people see this, my sister's handwriting? @4_craving. I think they got that. It's the hashtag. So while we do that, I need 3 people who are bold enough, 3 to tell me 3 different session topics that they've had so far. Please come out. 3 session topics so far. If you are bold, please come out and tell me now. 3 of the sessions, you've been having series of sessions so far. Just come and tell me 3 sessions. Hosts. One person. Okay, yeah, just come out. 3 people. I just want just 3 people. Okay, I have to, are you coming out or you are going to sit? Okay. So you tell us your name. Session. This mic. Okay, so we're rounding up. We'll continue later. Is that on the group? Okay, you tell us your name and you tell us your name and 3 sessions and maybe what you learned from one of those sessions. Just brief.
My name is Daniel Momokonte, a final year student of the Department of Agribusiness, Jala University. One of the first session was branding and marketing, and it was so much educative. I learned a lot because I am currently embarking on a project which I am a marketer as well. And the session was so nice. The second one is on the value addition of our own agric food, and adding values into our own agricultural foods will give it more quality and more texture in a way that people out there can be able to have this particular product. And for the final session is the exportation of our own food into the international market and also the African markets like the Agora. If we want to export to the American continent, we have to channel to the Agora. And also the UK, there is another channel that we have to use. All these ones, the exportation, they mention about a key thing which talks about the standards. The standard is very much important. Your food have to go through all the standards that we required it to be purchased internationally. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yeah.
How did he do? Do you agree? A round of applause if you approve. Thank you. Yeah.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Momelamin Sanko. On this fair, so far, first thing I learned from the first session was component of water. And of course, the component of water was very important. We were told that we have 5 components of water that needs to be taken into consideration. One was salinity and the rest. Yeah, and also we are told the pH scale of water that is suitable for agricultural process, which was, it ranged from 6.5 to 8.5 according to the pH scale for pure water for agriculture. And also I learned about how to get water into our agricultural land. We learned that we have to create a proper irrigation surface wherein we can have water from rivers or sea to our agricultural land. And also, last thing I learned yesterday was how to add value to our product. Yeah. Let's say, for instance, if I'm a farmer now, I'm producing cassava as raw material. I should not just take the raw cassava to the market and sell the raw cassava. To add value, I have to process it either to gari or to make powder, cassava powder or so. Yeah, thank you all.
A round of applause, Professor. Is a professor in the making. Do we agree? How come I decided not to work when I was giving accolades? So yes, we know that Twitter is blazing. You people are working now. So I think I may have to increase my goodie bags from the 5 I promised. So keep your comments coming. Keep your posts coming. Now, I need to be able to track that people that are actually making these comments are from this all. So as you post, put pictures from this all so that I know that it's people here that I'm addressing. So if you have not done that, please do that now. We are tracking it. My team is tracking it. We are going to move to Instagram shortly. Larry, talk to me. Okay, so let's continue. Thank you very much. What's your name? It's okay. You heard his name? I can't pronounce it. Sorry. And you? Okay.
Hello once again. I'm Ishmael Amadou Jallo. Well, from the sessions that we went through, one of it is agreed and gender-based, some of the biases, as our facilitators rightly said. There are many biases when it comes to agri business. So I learned a great when it comes to the biases we have in our homes, outside there. We mostly look, or we give less privilege to the women when it comes to land or other things. And also we look at the other session which talks about branding. Branding tells us about the image that you give to people. It talks about storytelling. What image you put outside there. When you talk about Nike, what comes to your mind? And also the last session which really impacted on me was exportation. I learned that from your exportation start with how you package, how you brand your product. That will attract investors outside there towards your product. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sense? Did it make sense? What did he say?
He said he talks about transportation.
Did you talk about transportation?
Yes, yes.
Export. Thank you for listening. You see, just random. Yeah. So we are now preparing for lunch. Yeah, we are now. So I'll come back with my goodies. You see, I still have a lot. So and we normally save the best for the last. So you guys should know that we are coming back. We are just going for interlude now. Then we just have brief announcement from our beautiful. Can't you see she's beautiful? Do you agree she is? So she will just give us some announcements. When we come back, we'll continue with this.
So food is here. Now Kinkango eats now, yeah? So you have between now until 2:30 to have lunch. But in between that period, what we're going to do during the last session is we're going to have people among the crowd, the participants, pitch innovative ideas. So if you know that you're here and you have an innovative idea, meet Larry over there, right there. Can you see Larry? During your lunch break, meet Larry and tell him what you would like to talk about during the last session. What time is that again? That's around 4 o'clock, yes? Yeah, so you pitch your ideas for 5 minutes if you have an innovative idea. So please just meet Larry. I think that's about it. You have 30 minutes lunch because we've wasted a lot of time. So we're just going to run through. And also in terms of food, you all have your tickets, correct? So just to make sure it's not chaotic, we're going to use our tickets. And Larry will be calling the numbers. If you're like 1 to 20, we'll say the first 20. So please just look at your tickets and Larry will just call through. Thank you and enjoy your lunch.